Welcome to At Home with the Johnsons. With me, Lisa.
And me, Sam.
We're going to be discussing a load of different issues about having a multi-seven-figure business and what life is like. So we'll be talking life and we'll be talking a bit of business. But we'll also be talking some controversial topics, but we want you to get involved too.
Because we do love a debate.
We love a debate.
And if you want to get involved in the debate, you can join us on our Facebook group At Home with the Johnsons. They're quite lightweight.
Yeah, they are.
I can't sit like this, can I?
I'm just trying to hide my
I've got a
stomach.
hole in my jean crotch area though.
Well, don't sit like that then.
I might have to change my jeans.
Honestly, why did you wear them jeans?
They're the ones, they're my comfy jeans when I don't want to feel like restricted.
Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today is on this very first of a new podcast.
It's exciting.
You're not very used to podcasting,
No,
are
I
you?
don't
You've only
like-
been a guest.
I've only been a guest and I've always felt like a bit part, so it's a bit of pressure on me here.
You're not a bit part anymore.
I know.
It's 50%, 50%.
I know. I realise this.
So what I wanted to talk about is why we've changed the whole business. Because I feel like we were doing the same thing and we had this big vision, well I did, for 7 years, and now this year everything's changed. And so I thought it'd be really good to talk about that.
Yeah, I think as well, because it wasn't necessarily a plan to change over years and years, was it?
No, not at all. It was more like, I think since my friend Paulie died, that got me thinking more about what a legacy is and what I really want to help people with. But I think this year especially, it's been a tough year for people in businesses. It's been a real tough year. But what I've seen is like people out there have lost themselves. Like business people that I knew and loved have lost themselves. When they first came to me, or like when we first had conversations, people would say to me, oh, I just want to make 2K to be able to not go to my job so I can spend more time with the kids. Or, oh, I'm just saving up. Like I'd love to make a 10K or 20K launch so that I can put a deposit down for this. And then all of a sudden, everything became about, I want to make 6 figures, 7 figures, multi-7 figures, 8 figures. And people are like really stressed trying to get to this level.
The problem with those they're arbitrary figures. Right, so you can't apply them to everyone because everyone's got a different goal. And I think you're right that people, usually when people start out, they want to make money. They're not starting a charity, right? But I don't think that's the primary reason for them starting out. And what happened is, and it happened to you, us, let's say a little bit, you forget the reason why you started out.
Well, yeah, your purpose goes.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, oh, now I just want to... And that's because the internet makes you feel that way.
Well, it does.
People say to me, nearly every day someone says to me, oh, when do you get in the 8 figures a year?
Yeah.
I'm like, why do I have to?
Although, being devil's advocate here, as I am prone to do, right?
Always.
We did kind of stick to those rules a little bit in early days. We were a bit about, we've hit our first 6-figure month, we've hit our first multi-7-figure year. And I think you become sucked into these like unwritten social media online business rules that everyone follows. Even if you don't believe in them,
it's like
it gets drilled into your head, doesn't it? It's like, you do this, get more. And I think what we've realised is that getting more doesn't mean necessarily financially more.
Yes, that is what it comes down to.
Was that quite wise?
That was quite wise
Cool.
for you.
I'm doing all right.
I feel like, but it's not just me. So I started to feel like this. Like, I don't want necessarily more. I want, rather than more, I want more fun. I want more peace. I want more freedom.
Yeah.
I want more times when when's the last time I went and did an acting class? I used to love that, and I don't do that anymore because my whole identity has become my business. And then when I started talking about this, hundreds of people got in touch with me going, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Like my identity has just become my business. All I care about is that next 6 figures or whatever. And the problem is, and this is where I think people are going wrong, you don't remember when you I can't remember the day I hit the first 7 figures. I can't remember the day that my book became a Sunday Times bestseller. I can't remember these days. What I remember is working towards them and the fun I had getting there. But when you hit those figures, it's like climbing to the top of a mountain and then going, oh shit, there's another mountain higher.
Yeah.
Now I've got to do that one. And there's never any top because
You're
it's
not
always
likely
something
to
else.
climb a mountain though, are you, to be fair?
What are you trying to say?
I know it's an analogy, but I don't.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying it's not kind of your thing, climbing mountains. However, I'm being slightly flippant, but I do totally agree with you, and I think it is people lose sight of their why.
Can we just go back?
Go on.
How many mountains have you climbed?
Well, there was that big hill in Greece, wasn't there?
Not a mountain.
Does that count?
No. Can't have a go at me if you haven't done it. Glass houses
Well,
and all that.
what's the limit of what's the cut off of a hill becoming a mountain? But anyway, we don't have to talk about mountains, do we?
Feel like
Back to where you were. Come on.
back to where I was. Back to the important things. So yeah, I feel like I really want to help people now work out what is enough. I'm not saying like I'm never going to help people make money. I want people to make money, but I'm just going to ask the question, why do you want to make it?
I think it's fundamental that you do still teach people how to make money. That's what you're brilliant at. And people, like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with aspiring to make money and to get the things you need. But what we've done, and I think is what people lose track of, is what are the really important things? Because just making money for the sake of making money
Doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything at all. So
And also, I think that it won't be a bad thing. I want to streamline, like I've already streamlined the business. So this year, I've closed down a group of 20,000 people in it. I've been wanting to do that for a while, and I just did it. While it was at its peak engagement, I closed a podcast that I just didn't really want to do anymore, even though it was in the top 0.5% globally.
you might come to regret that one.
I'm not going to regret it. What, because of you doing this podcast?
Yeah.
You better do it good.
I'm trying.
And then I feel like I've closed down that strategy, because I want everything streamlined. I just want to sell 4 things. I just want it to be easier and streamlined and not so complicated, so I have more time. But also, if we're doing that, that means that we have to streamline our life. Like, if we're not making 4 million and we're going to make, I don't know, let's say we make 2 million because we're doing less things. We might not, we might make the same, but let's say we make less. Let's streamline our life as well. Like, do we need a massive house, or did we get a massive house because it was a status thing?
Yeah, it's a tough one because I took longer to come around to this school of thought than you did. We know this, and sharing it and being honest about it. I love this house and I love living here. But however, when I do what you've been preaching to do and promoting other people to do, I start to realise that there is an element of hit that target, hit that target, hit that target, rather than hit the targets that are what matter to you.
When I met you, your absolute favourite
I know
thing
where
that
you're
you
going with
wanted
this.
was like a shack in the woods with a dog.
Dog and a rope.
And
Yeah.
the first time I tried to get you to wear anything designer, you had a massive go at me and said you wouldn't, and now you've got loads of Gucci stuff. You've changed.
Yeah, but it's...
You've
this
changed,
T-shirt was
Jack.
$18 from... Oh, it was from Austin in Texas when we were in America.
Yeah, that ain't
But
helping you.
it isn't just about that, and I understand what you're saying, but there has to still be... You can like nice stuff. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But without getting too woo and too kind of preachy about it...
If you're going to get woo on this podcast, this isn't going to work.
That's going to be another one. That's another podcast. But the things that you remember aren't the things you bought, are they? They're the things you do, which is why,
Experiences.
flowing on in a nice little segue from what you're saying about changing lifestyle.
you love a segue.
I do love a segue. That you have to make a list of your non-negotiables, which is kind of what we've done.
We did.
And for us, travelling with our kids and seeing amazing places is the one thing we don't want to give up.
Yeah, because I still want an extraordinary life. I've always said I want an extraordinary life, but extraordinary doesn't have to mean a load of handbags, is what I've learned, or a massive house with a pool in it. What is an extraordinary life to us? And I don't think we asked ourselves that question. I think we just went along with what is an extraordinary life that the world is telling us it should be.
Yeah, because there
I mean,
is this almost subliminally instilled in you set of rules.
Yeah.
That comes from social media in general, but especially in the online business world, because there is a group of people at a very high level that consistently promote these targets. And so,
like, we haven't got a Lamborghini though.
no, we've got terrible cars, haven't we? But that's just because it's not our thing.
But I think a lot of things that aren't our thing became our thing. I think dopamine is a problem. Like, when you start making money, like, you've got to remember, when we started out, when was it, 8 years ago, we couldn't afford a blooming mortgage.
Well, we had a little tiny house, didn't we, that took us months to get anyone to give us a mortgage for. And
I loved that house. It was 2 up, 2 down. I loved it.
It was really cute. It might have been haunted, but it was really cute.
It was definitely haunted. It was an old schoolhouse. It used to be an old school. Do you remember when you said that you were going to get Albert, who was 4 at the time, to like get a chalkboard and start doing some kind of...
I wanted to put like a Victorian school uniform on him and get him stood by the window with a chalkboard
scary.
doing sums for when you walked in.
Anyway,
we
liked that house, but then it got to like, okay, well, now we've made more money. Let's get the next dopamine hit.
Let's get the next house,
or designer clothes or a bag or whatever. And now I've found the dopamine hits are taking more and more to do. It doesn't excite me anymore when I buy a bag. I'm like, oh, that's a nice bag or a nice piece of Cartier jewellery. But it doesn't do what it used to do. Do you remember the first time we went to LA and we went to Rodeo Drive and we made a whole big day of the fact that I could buy a designer handbag? It was a Michael Kors and it was 250 quid. Yeah. And I was so excited about this 250 quid handbag. And like we made a whole big thing of it. Now, that doesn't happen. We don't think like that anymore. And I want to think back like that. I want to still be excited by the simple things. I used to be so excited just to go to the cinema.
Can I just do a little tangent here?
Yeah, you always do.
Because you know I'm prone to that. So
Hold on.
Go on.
Sorry, throat clearing.
When you were away a couple of weeks ago, I woke up early because I had no kids here and I didn't have to wake up early. I woke up really early.
Of course you did.
And it was a nice day like today is. And I got up and I walk. We've lived here like nearly 2 years and I didn't know where I was going. I had no plans and I just walked through the fields. And am I swearing on this or are we not doing swearing on this?
I think we should try not to, but if you do.
At one point I was on this walk, right, I swear to you, and I stopped and I went, this is flipping epic.
Out loud?
Yeah. And there was a bloke coming up behind me with all his Labradors and Hunter Wellies and Barber jacket on and that, and he did look at me a bit weird.
I would have ran away from you.
No, but I don't think I was intimidating or weird. Person. I was just like making it known that and I think it's just going back to about connecting with those things that really matter. And
do you know what doesn't matter?
Going for walks.
Yeah, especially if there's nowhere to go. Well, why would you go for a walk without going somewhere?
So I walked up the road to the next village and got a cup of tea.
So
that's kind of a goal.
Yeah, I suppose if there's a pub at the end of it.
Pubs weren't open, otherwise I would have done that. But yeah, so it is relevant rather, because it's about what you're saying about appreciating the things that really matter. And to me, I felt it sounds so wanky. I reconnected with that side of me.
You are sounding a bit wanky.
Oh, but I mean it. Honestly, I mean it. I'm only being honest about it. And you know I like nature and being outside and living in my shack with my dog and a rope. Because we like other stuff. We do share other stuff, don't we?
I can't stand outdoors.
Oh, no, you don't. You're not outdoorsy, are you?
No.
You're insidey.
Is that a thing? But yes.
You like looking at the outdoors through a window.
Yeah. Or a boat.
Yeah, so you can appreciate the outdoors. You just don't want to be in it.
No. But yeah, you're right that simple things matter. Yeah. So like, for me, I'd go to the cinema. Or I'd watch a film, or I'd cuddle up with the boys, or I would do these little things, go out with my mates and just be in the local pub.
Yeah.
But actually, we did realise, when we were on, this now doesn't work, 'cause I'm going to say when we were on the super yacht. But when we were on the super yacht, forget that it was a yacht, it could have been anywhere, right? Could have been anywhere.
You've done that.
It could have been anywhere.
I was talking about going for a walk in the countryside and you've dropped the yacht.
But we were on the yacht with all our mates, and I realised the thing I like is just being with them, and it doesn't matter where. Yeah. So when we went to Butlins with them at New Year, I was just as happy in Butlins as on that super yacht, and that made me realise it wasn't about where I was or how much money, it was about who I was with.
That's the thing that makes me happy about our kids, because they are hugely privileged. We both grew up with very little, right? And they are hugely privileged to have what they have and live the life they live. But if they've been to these amazing holidays all around the world, we asked them for their favourite holiday ever. What did they say? Butlins.
I was so annoyed. I'd spent so much money on that Maldives holiday and it said Butlins.
I'm not annoyed. I'm chuffed with that.
They are weird kids. They're not like normal kids, though. Do you remember when we took them to Disneyland for the first time, though?
Do you? That's boring.
We took them to Disneyland for the first time. And we said, right, we'll do one of them videos. You know, people take their kids to Disney and you put them in the back of the car. We said, we'll do one of them videos where you tell them, guess where we're going, Disneyland? And they cry and cheer. And I'd be like, oh, look, everyone's looking at my kids on the internet crying because they're so happy with Disneyland. And we were like, we're going to Disneyland. What was it that Finian went, do you realise they have guns in America?
He did say that, actually, yeah.
And Albert said, I hope we're going business class. That's a 10-hour flight.
I can't believe you're telling this stuff.
And we had to put the screen off and have words.
We're just talking about scaling down and being...
But this is why we need to. I think we've instilled in them since then a a different kind of value system, because they now they care about, but they want to be at Butlins, they want to be with their mates.
Butlins,
they don't care
great.
about money at all. They just don't care about it.
Yeah, but isn't that the beauty of kids, that kids don't see it?
No, like when we asked them what they want for Christmas, they weren't bothered. And 2 years ago, they were like, just give it to charity.
Also, I remember when I was a kid, I had some mates who lived in big houses, some mates who lived in the council estate in a little flat. That didn't bother me. I didn't even notice that.
No.
It was like, you know, some of them had crispy pancakes, and that's what mattered to me.
I love crispy pancakes.
Same. But I wasn't allowed them because my mum had delusions of being posh.
I wouldn't have come to your house if there was no turkey drummers.
You wouldn't have understood our food.
No, I bet you had veg.
There was veg, actual veg. Yeah,
Did you have like posh veg? How come when we wasn't posh veg then? Like no one had an avocado. Why didn't they exist then? They must have still existed.
What about a sun-dried tomato?
That wasn't a thing. Aubergine.
None of those
wasn't
things.
A thing.
Nah, I know.
Only that frozen veg in a packet.
Yeah, I think we're straying a little bit. So back to the matter in hand. I think what we're saying is clear, though, that you have to make these decisions, and it's important that you do, because otherwise you do end up going down this dead-end road. Well, it's not a dead end, because you'll get to a roadblock and then there'll be another road.
And that is the problem. Yeah. I want peace, and I want to feel like I've achieved something, and I never do, because whenever I get to the top of something, there's another mountain. Yeah. And so I think what's really important is helping people work out what is there enough. Yeah. What does that look like? What is enough to them? And then let's work towards that rather than just this more thing, because then people will feel like they've achieved their enough, and they will feel like they've got the life they really wanted. Like you would say, looking at our life now, if we'd looked at this life 8 years ago, we would have been like, we would have laughed if someone told us we had this life 8 years ago. Yeah. We would have thought this was like a dream, like if you win the lottery kind of a life. But now we still say things like, oh, it'd be nice if we had this, or, oh, we can't afford to do that. That's stupid. We shouldn't be in that position, and yet that's happened. So if we just work out what enough looks like, and I think I have, then we can work towards that. And that sometimes means scaling back.
Yep.
And no one does that. So when I talk to people who were earning more than me, they had told me, oh, God, yeah, I wish I hadn't got here. I wish I'd have stopped 4 years ago. Because that's when I really liked my life. I had more time. I didn't have all the staff members, all of this kind of thing. And I said, well, just do it then. And they're like, oh, I can't now because I've got to this certain level and it's really hard to go back, and it looks bad as well, like on social media. I don't care about those things. I would much prefer to model to people, like you can have a really amazing life and scale it back and streamline everything and declutter your whole life and your business and have what you really want. And that's what this new thing, the direction is about for me.
I think it's also important to just comment that this doesn't only you've got to the kind of level where we are, because everything is relative to each person and their goals and their achievements and their targets and what makes them happy. So it you know, I wouldn't want people to think, oh, it's just because you've made loads of money, it's easy for you to say. It isn't that at all.
No.
It fundamentally relates to people's real, the most important things in their lives and reconnecting with that.
And then we're not saying like don't make money, because I remember 8 years ago when we didn't have any, the most important thing for us was those basics, you know, be able to feed, be able to clothe, be able to house. They're really important still, because I think whether you're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs or any other kind of system, you need to get those basics in place to feel comfortable before you can even make these kind of decisions. So if you're in that kind of position where you've got debt, let's get you out of debt first. Let's make you the money to get out of debt and get you comfortable, then work out what your enough number is.
What you need, to get you there.
A want. You can still have more than just need.
Of course.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. That's the direction. I feel really good about it. Like since I started doing this a few months ago, I felt really aligned and like what I'm supposed to do. It was harder. Like when I knew that this is what I needed to do, I was like, now I've got to tell Sam and the boys that we're moving again.
I mean, you know, I like routine, don't I? I don't like change very much.
All three of you love routine. I hate
it's
routine.
Weird considering that they're not genetically mine, but they are very much like me, aren't they?
But routine is like, it's like the killer of spontaneity.
You've once said you hate having your life interrupted by routine, which I think is quite funny.
It's like that though.
But we're getting there, and like I say, I see the bigger picture. There's a lot of, it sits on your shoulders. You run this business, and a lot sits on your shoulders, and we are, as a family, we have to take that into account when we make decisions. And let's be clear, we're not going to be on the breadline. We're not going to be moving to a tiny little flat or little house like we used to live in. So it's all about getting
it's all relativity.
Yeah,
everything is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that's a good one.
We did a lot on that podcast.
I think that'll be the trend.
I think the trend for this podcast is going to be, we talk some business, like this one, sort of business. And then sometimes we just talk about like ridiculous things that we talk about normally when we're sitting on the sofa.
I'm up for those ones.
Should we do one of those next?
Yeah, I'm up for that.
All right,
Excellent.
Let's do that next week.
Okay, cool.
You've been listening to At Home with the Johnsons.
Why not come and join the discussion at our Facebook group, At Home with the Johnsons?
Go and check the link in the show notes.